Spoiler.
Please be advised. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spoiler Ep 25.
American Sniper.
Ooh.
You guys have demanded it.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do it, too.
Yeah. After I saw it, I called Chris and I said, you need to see this and we're going to do a spoiler ep.
You know what? I just saw it, too. This is very rare that I actually record the episode right after I see the movie. It's, I go to the movies during dad time, which is the 11 a.m. shows on Fridays and Mondays.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, that's the
no
dad
one's
time.
there.
Kids are in school. Yep. Had two chatty old women, though, and on one side. This was hilarious to listen to two chatty old white women talk about how Bill Cosby should be left alone. And I'm thinking, like, did I just hear with these crazy? Okay, all right, old ladies, enjoy the film.
Oh, so great! But he was funny and he liked pudding.
Yeah.
Just let him be.
It's easy to make fun of somebody.
Was that what's happening?
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Woman after woman is coming forward saying how he raped me. They're just
it's a lot of pressure being on a television show.
Yeah, they're just pulling his tail.
Yeah. Oh my god!
All right, well, just to anyone listening for the first time to a spoiler episode, we're just going to talk about one movie, American Sniper, and we're going to give away everything, the ending, all of it. So if you don't want to know,
don't watch the news.
Don't watch the news. Yeah, don't watch the news.
Yeah, there's not a lot of spoilers in this that you probably don't already know. If you know anything about the film at this point.
This movie, this spoiler ep's we're going to cover a lot of stuff.
We're going to cover some ground.
Okay. First things first, let's just talk about, before we get into all the politics and the controversy that has now sprung up around this film, let's just talk first and foremost what we thought of it as a movie. Chris, did you like it as a movie?
I thought when they finally brought the bear home to the family and he became part of the family, I thought it was great.
And now I think you're talking about Paddington.
Oh, wait, what are we doing?
No, this is American Sniper.
Okay.
The war with the guy with the gun. The guy, Iraq, gun guy.
Right, yeah, that one. No, I like that one too.
Well, there's a lot of controversy surrounding Paddington. The right and left are split on Paddington.
Is he a bear, isn't he?
Oh.
But you know what? This movie, I'll tell you, the problem with a movie like this already going into it, you've already heard so much about it, and you've already heard controversy from all different sides. You don't know what to expect going in. So it takes a conscious effort, and I encourage everyone to do this. Go in with a clean slate, open mind. Watch the film first and enjoy it as a film before all this other noise that's coming at you from all these different areas influences how you feel about it. So I did like the film. I liked it a lot, actually, and I thought it was a really well nuanced story, basically a biopic about a soldier in war. Specifically, it's interesting too when they went through his entire life.
Well, he's a Navy SEAL.
He's a Navy SEAL. Like he started off.
I'm going to take really offense if you call a Navy SEAL a soldier.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm not criticizing you. I just don't want Navy SEALs mad at us.
No disrespect intended. Clearly,
I don't want a SEAL team descending upon the garage.
Yeah.
If they do, hopefully they'll want to
be coming down in Google helicopters.
Yeah. If they do, maybe we can sell them some shirts.
Yeah. So, the way they started, we see his family, and we see the way he's brought up, and we see ultimately that he wants to join the military. And because of his personality, he's like, well, I need to be the best of the best. And it's instantly, he's like, well, it's SEAL or nothing, and I'm not going to give up. And you see his training and all that. And I like the way it flashed back to him being in combat to actually the earlier parts of his life and his training. I did like that, too, because it kind of kept things moving. What I really liked about the film and what I really like about Clint Eastwood is as a director, it was nuanced. And a movie like this could so easily not be nuanced. Mm-hmm. You have a character based on a real person, and you don't just show him as a cold-blooded killer. You see him wrestle with a lot of decisions in his life. You see a nice helping of PTSD, the syndrome, like how it affects soldiers, how it affects families. Mm-hmm. And, we've seen a couple of these films, and some of them, have only you and I have seen, like The Dry Land. Remember that? Like that. And we've, some of these films have gotten very limited releases, and
or they just sort of missed the mark on how to handle PTSD or whatever.
Correct. So this film, I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting mix. It didn't get too far into any one thing. Like, it wasn't a movie just about PTSD.
Right.
It wasn't a movie just about a SEAL sniper.
Right.
It wasn't a movie just about the horrors of war. Mm-hmm. Clint Eastwood really kind of gave you basically a portrait of a person, and you get the good with the bad. Now, of course, there's some controversy. Well, there's a lot of stuff in the book that and the tour that wasn't in the movie. And I would say the biggest problem I had with the film is the way his death was handled, with a card coming up at the end. And that was and let me just before I talk about anything else, let me just talk about what's wrong with that on a narrative story perspective, because what you have here is basically you have a tale of a nuanced hero, but hero. He is a hero. He's a hero of the story. So when you have the hero of a story, you have tragedies, you have setbacks, you have action, you have basically an adventure. Now, going back to the Joseph Campbell definitions of these, every time you have an epic story with a hero, there has to be part of the death is part of that story.
Right.
Especially, and it's usually a tragic death. Like, imagine if we read the story Beowulf, and after he killed Grendel and then killed Grendel's mother, a card came up. Oh, and he was killed by a dragon later. So but it's like, narratively, that's what we're getting. It's like, you can't do that. You can't, as like Robin Hood. Oh yeah, and he died, later. Yeah, you can't do that to us as an audience, as audience members. So, and it was such an important part of the story that he was helping vets try to get through this, but he was taking him to the shooting range, and that's how he was killed. You can't just have the wife close the door and a card come up. I felt it was really handled poorly. Now, I thought it was a really poor choice to end the film and to codify his life, because you could actually really make some great parallels here about the horrors of war and death and senseless violence and all that stuff, but you chose not to do anything. You literally just stopped the film and showed a card. So I think as a filmmaker, it was a lazy choice, and I'm saying this as someone who really liked the film and thought it was a deeply nuanced film all the way throughout, and I think the end was like
kind of just My question to that is, you and I were talking a little bit about it before we recorded this, is he was killed 2 years ago, February of 2013. So I just wonder when production began. I wonder if that had something to do with it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of speculating, maybe.
Yeah, I'm just speculating that maybe they're just from a time frame schedule and wanting to get it out by the end of 2014 to get it Oscar consideration. Was that scene just we couldn't?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I agree I totally agree that I was like,
it felt more like a choice that was the wrong choice for the for the film.
Because the big part of it, and again, in the book, which I have not read, but in hearing about the book and in hearing about who he was this, he was called the Legend, and in his book he was like, they were savages. I was good at killing people, and he was kind of like in interviews and publicly was like sort of kind of believing the hype. He got a lot of celebrity status as a result of this. And so when he rotated back, he'd be like, yeah, man, that's what I did. So, and he how he chooses to deal with his PTSD is to take guys to a shooting range. Mm-hmm. And the fact that was in the film thematically, we're still just talking about the movie now.
Right.
The fact that you're right, that's the big turning point in this guy, is that's how he deals with his PTSD. He hasn't dealt with his PTSD.
Correct.
He's completely denied it.
Yes.
And there's that great scene where he's talking to guys who are, I would almost wager, are actual vets who have been legitimately wounded. And you see guys without limbs.
Yes.
And that one guy tells the story about the cigarette. I doubt that's in the script. I bet you $100 that's that guy's actual story.
Wow.
You know, and that was like, at least that's what it felt very real to me. Like he's talking to real vets, having gone to the Naval Hospital in San Diego and spoken to some guys on several occasions who have been torn up like that and lost limbs and serious injuries, and have them tell their stories. That felt very real to me. So I definitely agree. Like that's this big part of this hero's story, and then it's just like, oh, by the way, like.
No, that's huge.
That's huge. And then it's like, you know,
the other thing was the setup right before the card was that he was dealing with his PSD.
Everything was better. His wife says, I'm glad I got my husband back.
I'm glad I got my husband back. And he acknowledges it like, well, you were worth fighting for.
Right.
Like, so it acknowledges not only was he better, that he had been working very hard to get there.
Right. And then it also the fact that he was killed by a Marine with PTSD shows you how fucking severe it can be.
Yeah, another missed opportunity.
You know,
towards the end of this film. This is. It also kind of reminds me a little bit. What actually happened to this Marine that did? Like, what the fuck happened? What does he have to say about it? Like, yeah.
I'm sure he's in prison.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but what is he? What is his explanation?
Yeah, don't end with just creepy guy getting in a car.
Yeah,
you know, that's how it is.
Huh?
Yeah. And also you have this interesting parallel of like Patton or T.E. Lawrence, where you have Patton went through the entire war without a scratch and then died in a car accident.
Right.
The same thing, T.E. Lawrence, entire Lawrence of Arabia, and then it was motorcycle. So.
Yeah, and but I want to, so that is a thing. But I agree though that ultimately it's a good movie.
It's very good. Yes.
I loved it too how they open up, and this is in the trailer, of him, you know, he's got eyes on a woman and a kid, and then she hands the kid a grenade.
Right.
And what do I do?
Right.
And he's like, do you guys got eyes on this? And the people, whoever he's talking to, command or whatever.
Right. It's a no-win situation. He either kills a kid or the kid kills his friends.
Yeah.
Like what? How do you can't win unless Batman comes down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's you're faced with horrible decisions. And what I loved too was after that scene, he's wrestling with it, and he said, I didn't think that's how this would go down.
It's his first kill.
Yeah, it's his first kill, and it happened to be a kid.
Yeah, and I like how they before we see what decision he actually makes, then we flash back to him as a kid and seeing, you got to kind of grow up in a specific type of house, maybe, to be this kind of guy. And obviously, it was a part of who he was, And
also, I like how showed his proficiency with a rifle.
Yeah, I mean, he was good with a rifle as an early age, and he had a dad who was teaching him how to hunt and stuff like that. So, I don't know how many Navy SEALs were raised in sort of, hippie theater parent households like I had.
I can guarantee you there's at least one.
Yeah, of course. Because, I'm sure you could argue that a Navy SEAL is sort of has that thing in them.
Yeah.
But obviously it is.
So if there's any Navy SEALs or Army Rangers listening right now that had hippie parents in theater departments, email us. We want to hear your story.
I really want to talk to you one-on-one. But no, that's funny because like my parents were hippie theater parents, obviously. That's why I make that joke. But my brother and I were very much like aggro boys who were like, let's play football and fight and tackle and all that stuff. But we were also, this was kids in the 70s where it's like no war, anti-Vietnam. So that was, had we been raised in a different household, who knows? Maybe we would have joined. I don't know. But all that stuff, the flashback stuff, how he meets his wife, and then how he processed going through the war. Each deployment was different. And I spoke with a fan of the show, Lucas Lunsman, who
is in Earbuds.
We interviewed. He's in the Army. He was a sniper over there. He was listening to the show while he was on one of his deployments. And when we talked about how much we liked Hurt Locker, it made him mad because it didn't seem accurate.
Yeah, that's weird though. In the movie, there's no scene of the snipers listening to podcasts. Which,
yeah, that's where Clint Eastwood.
That's where, really, dropped the ball.
Yeah, he should definitely have a Kitten Hands shirt. But no,
they had Punisher shirts.
They did have Punisher shirts. That was pretty awesome. But I was talking to Lucas last night because he had just finished watching it, because I saw it and I called him and I said, I want to hear what you have to say. And he was saying, just from like a technical standpoint, it felt very accurate to him. Mm-hmm. And certain things, it was interesting because certain things that I noticed, how on each deployment certain things change. Like he's driving a basic Humvee, and then the second deployment, they've obviously put armor on it. The third one, he's in with these up armor things that are called MRAPs. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that, and he noticed that too. And I was like, yeah, because I remember when I was there in 04, in Afghanistan in 04, Iraq in 06, or Afghanistan 04 and 06, and then Iraq in 07 and 08, and noticing the difference and all that stuff. So that was really accurate. But we both agreed there's no fucking way a sniper would be on a satellite phone talking to his wife in the middle of a goddamn firefight.
Yeah, I was watching that, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm not in the military. I've never been in combat, but I'm pretty sure if you're a sniper protecting your team, you shouldn't be on the phone.
Let's put the cell phones on vibrate. Yeah, turn them to airplane mode, maybe.
See, it's like with the Hummer guy, the Hummer driver's like texting while he's driving. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see that,
Yeah, but I mean, so the thing, a couple of that thing.
Definitely a couple of Hollywood embellishments.
There were some Hollywood embellishments. But the interaction between the other soldiers, I was like, wow, this felt realistic to me. Again, I'm no expert. I'm just a comedian that's been over there. I do not know what it's like to be in combat.
But also, as a film, as a film viewer, it needs to look realistic to us who have not been in the military.
Exactly.
So, and we felt it was.
It felt absolutely. Mm-hmm. And having been over there and interacted with a lot of people in the military, that really felt authentic to me in the way they talk about it. I remember the first time when I got to the Salerno base in 2004. And this guy I put this in Afghanistan. This guy picked us up, and he's like, yeah, every night I go out hunting. And I knew what he meant, and I was like, but hunting what? And he looked at me like, what do you think? What do you think I'm hunting?
Yeah.
And that scene where...
Wabbits.
Yeah, rabbits. That would have been hilarious.
If he would have said wabbits.
Wabbits. But that scene where Bradley Cooper comes back, and there's only one other guy in their tent, and it's after his first day of having to kill a kid, and you could tell he's having a hard time with it, but he's having a hard time with it. He doesn't come back to the tent and scream and cry. He reveals as much emotion as a Navy SEAL sniper is going to reveal in that scene. And the other guy in the tent sees it and goes, "Hey man, you did the right thing." And that's the attitude they have to take.
Well, the other thing I liked about it, and that you bring up a great point, is that the thing about Bradley Cooper, the way he did the performance and the actual guy, is Chris, is the actual guy that's being
Chris Kyle.
Chris Kyle. He believed it. He believed everything that he was doing was right. He believed, every single thing. He believed it 100%. And what I loved about it too, it would have been easy again for the filmmakers to go surround him with all the people that felt the same way, but he did not. You could see there were other, including his brother, there were other dissenting voices.
Right.
I don't know if this is worth it. And it was a great nuance because that goes on.
Yeah.
And
the scene where he runs into his brother.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my God." And his brother's like, "I fucking hate this place."
Yeah. And he was like, you could tell he had really bad PTSD.
Yeah.
And he was just ready to go.
He's like, I hate this place.
And you could tell, and another great performance in his eyes, he'll never be the same again.
And he saw it. Mm-hmm. And the other thing too that I thought was really accurate and Lucas felt the same way was the way, and this is what I love, was it's subtle, the nuance, how Clint Eastwood dealt with the PTSD. And maybe the overreacting to the dog against his kid might have been a little embellishy, but I'm sure stuff like that has happened. But hearing the drill, and he's just
or any loud noise.
The first time he's back, there's a lawnmower and he jumps and he's on alert in a room. And another friend of mine that I went to college with, who was from New York, and he lost 3 friends in the trade towers and at 9/11, joined at age 35 on September 12th and was in the airborne, and he was a ranger. And I talked to him about coming home, and he was just like, one time his wife just dropped a broom handle on a tile floor and it was really loud, and he almost jumped out of his chair and he wasn't like.
Is there a rivalry between the airborne Rangers and the Navy SEALs?
I'm sure. Yeah, all those guys.
They all have their rivalries.
They all have their rivalries, and they all think, their unit is better and all that stuff.
What are all the elites? It's airborne Rangers, Navy SEAls.
There's the Rangers, there's the SEALs, there's Delta Force.
Well, Chuck Norris is on that one.
Well, yeah. Well, so they're the best. Chuck Norris is General Norris.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got rockets on his motorcycle. Come on.
He has an invincible mullet. He has a Kevlar mullet. No, but my friend, my friend Tim, who was over there, who was a gunner in a Humvee, and he was in Fallujah, and he had crazy stories, and he would say stuff like, always have to have his back to the door, have to see all the exits. Mm-hmm. And the handling of PTSD was... I really liked it because I've had to deal with a little bit of that in terms of I've never been in a firefight. And I was telling this to Lucas last night, but I was on a helicopter that started shooting at someone, and we were on a helicopter. There was about 35, 40 minute. They were shooting at someone, while I'm in this helicopter. And, I always hear helicopters before everybody. Like when I'm out surfing, especially if we surf down near San Onofre, which is near Camp Pendleton. Mm-hmm. I'll hear military helicopters before my buddies do, and have to know where they're at.
Well, they're tracking you.
They're tracking me. Yeah, they are. They're like, there's that damn hippie. There's that godless hippie who we let into our war zones. So like those things, and I remember there was a song that was played this soldier showed me when I was in Salerno. Some guys had died in his base, and one of the guys in the unit put together a slideshow of the funeral they had on the base and put some music to it. And it was like, I remember and he was showing this because, this just happened a month or two ago or whatever. And it was showing to me, and there's this song, and it was like, oh my God, it was really heartfelt, and I've forgotten the song, but every time I hear it, it strikes me, but yet I cannot tell you what the name of the song was. Which is a weird thing, but I thought Clint Eastwood did such an accurate...
She blinded me with science?
Yes, that's what it was, Chris. Science! Anytime I hear that, I start crying, and I break out in a cold sweat. Oh, I'm back in Salerno in Afghanistan. It's poetry in motion. Good heavens, you're beautiful, or whatever the lady's name is. See, I don't remember her name from the song. But like, I liked all that subtle stuff, and how he did slowly work through it. And that when there's that great scene with the guy at the VA.
And I like too that he denied it for so long.
Yep.
It's like he just kind of got quiet. Mm-hmm. And eventually it got through.
Yeah, and the whole like guilt of I'm back home while my guys are still over there.
Right.
And again, I don't know what that's like. I remember though coming back after doing comedy tours and being like, well, I need to go back and do more shows. I remember when Scott Kennedy told me after he had done a small base that a commanding officer said that every time a comedy show comes through town, like the suicide rate drops.
I know, you were saying that.
And I remember just feeling like, I'm not doing enough. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then there's the whole, well, I haven't earned the PTSD. People have had it harder than me, so I don't have it.
Right.
And Clint Eastwood handled that really well with Chris Kyle. So overall, I really liked and did a good job. The ending card thing was a little like, I don't know that I was as disappointed or mad as you. I definitely was just like, oh man, like, that was an awesome ride. And then that, like,
I'm getting off too soon.
But I kind of felt like, here's a quick spoiler coming up with Unbroken. we talked about this in Unbroken, it doesn't go into in Unbroken, like, the Allies come in the end of Unbroken, and that's it. And then they just show the actual footage of the actual guy running with the Olympic torch through Japan for the Nagano Olympics. And you're like,
wait, what happened?
How did he forgive the Japanese 50 years later? I felt the same way. It was just sort of like, that's a huge part of the story.
A little bit of a gloss over.
A little bit of a gloss over. I mean, I know you can't do a 3-hour movie.
Right. But, there's other places you could cut. You could definitely tighten and
okay.
tweak
So
here and
now,
there.
what do you think? Should we keep talking about the film, or should we get into these?
Oh, the controversy on
Yeah.
it. You know what? I'm trying to think if there was some other points I wanted to make. I wanted to make a point about the acting. I thought the acting was excellent. I thought
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. No, I'm going to say Chris Cooper.
he's-
Different guy. Bradley Cooper. He did an amazing job. And what I love about watching his evolution as an actor, he did a great job in this film, but also he also voiced a Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy. To see his versatility, I'm really liking him more and more. Bradley Cooper. He's proven again and again he's not just another pretty face. He's got the goods.
Even close. And
Yeah.
this is just again from an acting standpoint, like whatever your opinions are on the actual Chris Kyle and his book.
Right. Mm-hmm.
As an actor, Bradley Cooper, those scenes where, okay, you're a Navy SEAL.
Mm-hmm.
You're the toughest motherfucker on the planet. And yet in these close-ups, we saw the depth of his emotion.
Right.
In such a subtle way, which is like, it was so impressive. I think, and I'm so glad Bradley Cooper is nominated and for this, because it's a great performance.
When you were watching this movie, did it ever occur to you, like it did during some of the battle sequences? I was watching this and I thought, you know what, this is a hard movie to direct for an old man. Like, because when you think how old Clint Eastwood is,
Right.
how complicated this film was. And I just like, wow. I mean, it made me like it even more.
Was really
that Clint Eastwood is literally not even slowing down.
Not at all. And this is another thing that Lucas said. He goes, it looked like Iraq. It felt like
It
Iraq.
did, yes.
You know what I mean? Which is like, that was an amazing. And again, that goes to what you're talking about. All these rooftop setups.
Right.
And these multiple, so they're shooting him on a roof and then a patrol down on the street.
Right.
That's so
and let's put this one thing to rest right now. There is nothing glorifying about this film at all.
I don't.
And you know what? This is not John Wayne storming the beaches of Iwo Jima. It is not. This is a great nuanced portrayal of a sniper
And how horrible war
and
is.
how horrible war is. Yeah.
So let's use that bridge to get into
Absolutely.
what this controversy is, because the controversy is now
Nonsensical.
Okay, it's not. God damn it! It pisses me off. Okay, so Michael Moore says, for those of you who don't know, I'm gonna bring up his.
And it was a tweet.
Yeah.
Speaking of nuanced, Doug made a great point before. He said, maybe if Michael Moore wrote like this long op-ed and went into his personal feelings and just kind of explained. Nope, a tweet.
I just okay. I want to bring, because I want to read the quote.
You want to read it exactly?
I want to read it exactly.
Okay. But it's easy to paraphrase.
Yeah.
Well, while you're looking for it, I will say that as Graham and I, our politics are generally a little bit to the left. I would say center left.
Mm-hmm.
It infuriates me specifically when lefties run their mouth off saying really stupid, ignorant shit.
Ooh,
because you know what it does is, like, you're not helping. You're actually hurting the cause.
Here's the thing: you're not helping, and don't fucking speak for me.
Yeah, exactly.
You and Bill Maher do not speak for me.
No. So, did you find it? So read.
Michael
okay.
Moore's tweet, which was on January 18th. Sniper on tweet. Yeah. So, my uncle killed by sniper in WW2. We were taught snipers were cowards. We'll shoot you in the back. Snipers aren't heroes, and invaders are worse.
Okay. So here,
Where do we begin?
You know what? I'm going to begin with this because I thought about it, and I was actually more angry at Bill Maher, because Bill Maher actually a lot of times makes cogent arguments, and he can back up a lot of what he says.
And he's funny.
And he's funny with a reasonable you could get to, even if you don't agree with him, you could kind of get to where
Sure.
he usually goes with what he's saying. Like, there's some kind of logical progression with his thoughts. Now, Michael Moore, it didn't bother me at all what he said, because it's not even an opinion. It's not even it's not even a statement. It's just nonsensical bullshit just spewing out onto the internet. There's no content there.
Right.
There really is. It's just nonsense and nonsensical. And what really, in fact, what it really did is make me sad, because I like Michael Moore and I've liked his films. And if you ever watched the TV Nation, the TV show that he had for a long time, not a long time, I think it was only 2 seasons. It's brilliant satire and it's fantastic. And it was, at the height of his game. But now you've got basically this tweet is the equivalent of a cranky old man saying, "Get off my lawn." It's really what it is. And what it is it's a nonsensical statement that is front-loaded with hate and ignorance, and it's everything that he supposedly stands against. And it just kind of made me sad more than angry to read that.
Here, I'll say this. I've met Michael Moore. I was at his festival with Doug Benson. We did Doug Loves Movies at the Traverse City Film Festival, spring of 2013, so almost 2 years ago. Very nice guy. I like the guy. Here's something you probably don't know. He hires vets.
Yeah, exactly.
He he's made this big push in Michigan to have like a hire a vet campaign. He refurbished this theater in Traverse City, and he like the popcorn cuts the prices. He's like, these $7 popcorn.
He subsidizes everything.
He cuts it down, and he goes, I hired an Iraq vet to be my projectionist, and he does all this stuff. When he says shit like this, I'm like, this is when liberals do this, I'm like, this is why then the right wing just goes, oh, you guys hate America.
And it gives them so much ammunition.
It's so
like,
stupid.
When Ann Coulter says something crazy, it's like, why is everyone, shocked? That's what she does.
Right.
The difference is with Ann Coulter is it's very calculated. It's calculated when she says something crazy. It's to sell a book, or she's got an appearance coming up.
Or she goes off her meds.
Whereas Michael Moore, I think he's kind of gone off the deep end. And it's like I said, it's like an old man yelling to get off the lawn.
This doesn't make any sense in a lot of levels, because, okay, snipers in the back. We had snipers in World War II, Michael.
Yes, on our side.
On our side, by the way. Your uncle, I'm sorry.
They probably saved some lives.
They probably saved some lives. I mean, there were so many stories of American GIs getting, they would capture some Germans and say, oh, we're going to take them back to base so they can be prisoners of war, and then go, oh, by the way, they tried to escape. We had to shoot them. So they're shooting unarmed prisoners of war. Okay. War's fucking awful, man.
Yeah, war's horrible.
War's horrible. It makes people come home from war. They're not the same people. My uncle was a Marine. He joined at the end of World War II. He fought in Guam, and then he fought in Korea. And he was one of the Marines that, I forget the specifics of this, but the Chinese said don't pass. I believe it was the 49th parallel or something like that. We passed it. The Chinese flooded into Korea, and he was detached from his unit and and I'm guessing had to see and do horrible things. And he came out, survived. Most of his guys died. He survived. Never the same guy. About 10 years or so after he comes back from Korea, he commits suicide, which was a big thing that my mom would always say to my brother and I, I don't want you guys going to war because you're going to come back changed, man, and I don't want this to happen to you. Based on this logic, though, I mean, do I, if I were to use Michael Moore's logic, am I mad do I blame the Marine Corps or the Chinese government?
That's your first mistake. If I were to use Michael Moore's logic.
Right, exactly.
There isn't any there.
Right.
There's nothing there.
It doesn't make any sense. And the thing that bothers me is it's just like when Michael Moore says this, then the right flips out and, oh, he's fat and he's a dumb hippie who hates America, and it's all this. If he would just have a cognitive thought a little bit.
And they double down on the fact that, this sniper's an American hero, and then all of a sudden it goes too far to the other side. No. This is a portrait of someone in war, and this is what, this is the good and bad, and this is how it changes people. And we're not sending caricatures and comic book characters to war. We're sending people.
Yeah.
They're people. They're human beings.
And
And both sides. They get
exactly.
killed and they kill people.
And you're exactly what you're saying then. This forces then, so then I'm sure now because of this, some fucking wingnut Tea Party militia guys are like, I'm going to go see goddamn Sniper.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to fucking whack some towel heads or whatever. And it's like, no. You're missing the whole point of
now
this.
That's the wrong takeaway. And then we can get to the nice other big elephant in the room is corporate media loves a spitting contest and also loves a fake controversy that they create. Yeah. Like Michael Moore Bill Maher started by saying, "Oh, there's a big controversy now." I'm like, "No, because you're creating it.
Yeah, Bill Maher.
That's why you're creating it. That's why now we got to." And Bill Maher specifically said it. Now we got to take sides. No, you don't. No, you don't. You could just watch a movie that's a biopic of an actual Navy SEAL.
So here's the thing: like, if you guys haven't, you can get it on Google or YouTube. You can see a day or two later. Then on Bill Maher's show, he addresses this. And makes
incorrectly.
And so incorrectly. And I have not met Bill Maher up close. I think he's a funny guy. I think he intentionally likes to stir the pot.
Yeah, and a lot of times he's absolutely right. His satire is fantastic.
Yes, and also he's a privileged Hollywood asshole.
That too.
I know people who worked for him.
But he drives a Prius.
Yeah, he drives a Prius. So, you know. That's why I don't watch his show as much anymore, because I just feel like I'm watching rich white liberals talk like they're fucking the common man.
And we don't have HBO.
Yeah, because I can't afford it. My free HBO ended.
But you look at and there was there was one great rebuttal. One of the other panelists was actually sane and said I don't know what movie you guys were watching. This is not what I saw. You saw a soldier struggling with all these things.
Yes. Here's what Bill Maher was, I guess, trying to do, but I don't think he came across this way. He's trying to, because he reads quotes from the book.
Yes.
And as we said, and again, Lucas was telling me he had read the book before he saw this movie. He read the book a while ago. And if you want to make an argument that the book makes Chris Kyle seem like a sweetheart when he isn't, okay.
Or the movie does.
I'm sorry, yeah. The movie makes Chris Kyle seem like a sweet, more of a nice guy than he was.
Glossed over more of the rhetoric that's in the book.
The rhetoric, and especially after he rotated out and was was doing a lot of interviews and was talking all this
some basically trash talk.
Kill them all, let God sort them out. You know what I mean? Like that famous quote from Schwarzkopf of "It's not my job to forgive Osama bin Laden. It's my job to arrange the meeting. That's God's job," or whatever. So there's a lot of that rhetoric. Now, and that's a fair complaint.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You know, the movie made him. You know, we talk about that a lot. We talked about that with Selma.
Yes.
And
some liberties.
And the depiction of LBJ, which, by the way, the director Ava, on her Twitter post, put a really great article that a woman wrote. Saying about LBJ and saying, well, actually the movie was kind of a little accurate, this, and this, and it's an excellent article. So, and I read that article and went, oh, okay. This is a little more information. Maybe
still some poetic license.
Still some poetic license, but a fair article because, again, people way overreacted on the
Especially it's one scene.
It's one scene.
Yeah, it's not like the entire movie. Yeah, it's not like someone was on their cell phone for the entire war.
Right. So getting back to what Bill Maher was saying, but he's like, oh, so we're just supposed to say, yeah, great, he's an American psychopath and kill, and then he makes the dumbest point. Bill Maher says, well, he refers to them as savages, the Iraqis as savages. He goes, well, if he's a Christian, this is a Christian country.
What the fuck do you think Bill Maher says in the green room when the cameras are off? Can you imagine?
And he goes, then that doesn't sound very Christian. Okay. And Bill Burr is the comic on the show.
Yeah.
And thank God Bill Burr chimes in and goes, wait a minute. You're quoting a guy
out of context.
And this is war.
Yeah.
People say horrible shit in war.
Because they're being shot at.
What the fuck? And let me
someone who's never been in a war, Bill Maher.
Let me say this, and I got to make this point real clear. I doubt Bill Maher, Michael Moore are ever going to listen to the show. I hope they do, and I want them to know.
Their PAs might be listening.
Your PAs are listening, or anybody in either of these guys' camps know this. I personally am a liberal. I'm not a Democrat. I was against the war in Iraq. I voted against Bush any chance I could.
Which was twice.
I'm from Chicago, so I had a
You got
couple.
to do it a few more times.
I had a couple dead guys vote in my behalf.
And build some more parks.
Yeah, exactly. Gonna vote early and often, just as Mayor Daley said. And I'm not a big fan of organized religion. But this is the dumbest thing I've ever goddamn heard. Like, and here's the thing, and this is what you were saying too about dividing the country. I was against the war in Iraq. I petitioned all my representatives, and I was against it. Once it happened, I was like, well, I don't want this war to fail just so I can say I told you so.
Exactly.
And because that is ludicrous. And Democrat or liberals that were doing that, you're just as stupid as these Republicans who are just
We're sabotaging the president, for 8 years.
For anything.
Yeah.
Oh, socialized healthcare. It's actually helping a lot of people. Why'd the website crash? Because millions of people don't have fucking healthcare, you dipshit. Like, I'm saving $300 a month now because of Obamacare. So that thinking doesn't help. And Bill Maher saying this, what the fuck do you think happens in a war? When someone is shooting at you, do you think you're like, oh, I love them. They're the thing. And then he talks about, he goes, the first scene, he's about ready to shoot a kid that's been given a grenade.
And
like, what the fuck?
And you actually see him wrestle with this. It's like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? And then, he had to kill the mother too.
Yes.
He had to kill the woman too because she picked it up and threw it. And in fact, he hesitated. So she actually she threw it. But luckily he got her in time where his buddies weren't killed. So it's unbelievable. Like that was his job. Well, we hired him to kill children in a foreign country. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. So, and to act like these guys weren't human, and they were. I mean, war does horrible things to you, but you could see it in his eyes. He didn't want to do this. In fact, the soldier that was stationed next to him, that was to protect him, the sniper that I think it was a Marine. And he was like, hey man, great job. And he was like, shut up, get off.
Yeah, shut up.
This is horrible, what I just had to do.
Bill Maher, you're not helping the situation.
And I don't believe he saw the film. I really don't. No. I mean, he says he did, but it's I agree with the one guest. He said, "What movie did you guys see?" Yeah, I don't. So.
I think he saw clips of it or something. Because here's what I think happened.
He's a very busy man, Bill Maher.
I think this was just some sort of like vendetta against Clint Eastwood for that stupid old man talk to the chair speech at the Republican convention.
Yeah, and by the way, that didn't help Clint Eastwood.
No, it didn't help the Republican Party either. Here's a crazy rich white guy talking to a chair.
Yeah, nice work.
And it's just that kind of crap.
But it's the corporate media in this country is we have to have a fake controversy because it's all about generating ratings and money. So the takeaway for this film is it's actually a good, nuanced film, and don't believe the hype on either side when you go see this movie. See it for the way it was intended, as a portrait of a Navy SEAL sniper from good and bad, start to finish.
And, then if you want, read the Chris Kyle book.
Yeah. Then decide for yourself. How much was left out.
And that's the other thing too. And this is what I love about podcasting. It reminds me of an interview we did with Will Anderson for Earbuds, who Will came up doing a lot of radio in Australia. Mm-hmm. And he goes, I don't want to do, he goes, radio, you had to pick a side. I'm pro, I'm con, I'm for, I'm against. Mm-hmm. And he goes, I don't want to do that in podcasting. He goes, I want to have a discussion on things, and maybe at the end of the discussion, I don't know.
You change your mind. How many times that we've talked on this podcast and one of us has had their mind change?
Mind change. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, this film...
Mainly because we're both very weak-minded.
Each guy can do a Jedi mind trick on the other one. That's how dumb we are. But no, I think this movie obviously meant a lot to me in terms of having gone over there and how much that's impacted and changed my life. And it does show that war is horrible. And there was some, and to just jump on, Chris Kyle was a sad psychopath, or he was this amazing hero. No, he was flawed. He's a human being. He was very good at a job that's an ugly, awful job.
Right.
A job that you could argue we need, or maybe we don't need. I don't know. But I saw a Congressional Medal of Honor winner from Vietnam in an interview around the time 04-05, so we were already into the Iraq War. And he said, and he had to deal with people calling him a baby killer and shit like that in the 70s. And he goes, to protest the warrior is wrong. He goes, but protesting a war, it's good. He goes, the day the human race stops protesting war, we're in trouble.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because war is fucking awful. Mm-hmm. It's that, MacArthur's got that quote, about and it's similar to the Eisenhower quote of only the soldier above all prays for peace, because he's the only one, that has seen the horrors of war. So
there's a lot of great quotes, like war is mankind's most solemn act. No one should be celebrating
ever
going to war.
And let's go back to some movies real quick. There's a great scene in Patton where George C. Scott, they're getting ready for the D-Day invasion. George C. Scott is great in this movie, by the way. This is a good war movie. And he goes to the army chaplain, Father, I need a good beat the Nazis prayer or whatever. And the father goes, well, I can't do that because the Bible says thou shalt not kill. An army chaplain says this to fucking General Patton. Yeah. Goes, the church is against this war because you're killing people. And he's like, and whatever. He's like, give me a good one, which is great. But then there's also, and you referenced it earlier, in David Lean's
Lawrence of
Arabia, there's that great scene where Peter O'Toole goes, the worst part about this war is I actually started to like it, and.
Well, I love and David Lean is such an amazing filmmaker. Like, he showed T. Lawrence with a Christ complex, but there were all these great, subtle filmic techniques, like giving him stigmata too, like the wounds on his back opened up again, like Christ's palms. It was really fascinating. It's one of the best movies ever made, is Lawrence of Arabia.
It's so amazing, and I think this is, and I really liked Hurt Locker. It's okay, Lucas. But I think this thus far,
I think I like this movie better than Hurt Locker, I liked Hurt Locker.
I liked Hurt Locker a lot. I think this is the best movie about the Iraq War that we've seen thus far.
Although I'd like to put the ending of Hurt Locker onto this movie instead of the card.
yes, that card. Oh boy,
that's still irritating me.
But yeah, and it's the best movie that we've seen thus far in terms of dealing with PTSD and the specific PTSD from this war.
And the Dry Land was a pretty good portrayal of it.
Dry Land's a pretty good portrayal of it.
But that actually was all coming home. There was no combat in that.
There was no combat in that. This, I think, has the, where it comes from, what happens, and it's worth seeing. And you know what, guys? We want to hear what you have to say. Email us.
We're still working on getting the message boards fixed. I'm really sorry about that, but they should be up and going. New people should be able to register soon. If you've already registered, if you're a longtime fan, you can post. It's just new registrations we're having an issue with for some reason.
Right.
It's some WordPress weird thing.
Yeah.
Brian's on it, though.
The wolf.
Yeah.
The Lobo's on the case, guys. So love to hear you guys' comments on this, and send us an email or post something on the Facebook page. And love to hear what you guys have to say about this, because
I'm actually exhausted from this episode.
It's an emotional one, man. It was. I saw it over the weekend, and I've been thinking about it a lot and what I wanted to talk about, and then talking to Lucas and talking to you, and and then watching Bill Maher's clip and getting infuriated. Anyway. Thanks.
So that's your spoiler ep.
That's your spoiler ep, guys. Number 25. We really appreciate you guys listening, and we love that. I love that film can bring about these types of discussions. It doesn't have to be a stupid red state, blue state yelling debate. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a discussion, unless you're Bill Maher. All right, that's our episode, you guys. I am
when is this dropping again?
This is dropping
now?
Thursday.
Okay.
So I'm currently in Lake Tahoe as you're listening to this. I will be doing Comics on Safari at the Bray Improv February 11th. And this just added, I don't know if it's on the website yet, but it will, is February 14th, Valentine's Day, headlining the Hollywood Improv, which would be a fun night. And then, of course, in Vegas, the 17th through the 22nd.
Nice. I will be actually in Lake Tahoe for Valentine's Day. I'll be the 11th through the 15th. The Improv at Harvey's, Lake Tahoe, 2 weeks after you.
Nice. I'll try not to get the place burned down.
Good luck.
All right, you guys. My name is Graham Elwood.
And I'm Chris Mancini. And as always, remember,
Han shot first.
Take the shot.